Okay, welcome everybody to today's class. I hope you can see the whole board there. We're looking again at advanced phrasal verbs and idioms. This is, I take this vocabulary from a book which you can find online. You can find it on Amazon, Advanced Phrasal Verbs and Idioms. It's by Oxford University Press, and it's a good book for if you like learning about idioms and phrasal verbs. So I do recommend that book, but I also recommend my own book for phrasal verbs only. This is my own book, Visual Phrasal Verbs, and you can find it on my website, which is skypelessons.com. Like this, skype-lessons.com. Okay. And you can find a PDF on my website. It has hyperlinks, it has all the original images. It is exactly the same as this book, but it's a PDF version with hyperlinks, so you can go quickly to the answers. But if you prefer a physical copy, you can find this on Amazon. Just type in Visual Phrasal Verbs and you'll see it. It's by me, it's by Dave Nichols. And you can get lots of pictures in there and lots of exercises for all of these phrasal verbs. All the phrasal verbs that we're doing today are in that book. Now, these come from another book, and we start off with to be sure of yourself. Now, I wanted to make this clear that the expression to be sure of yourself sounds like you are overconfident. It sounds like you are too sure of yourself, maybe even a little bit arrogant. So it's not a very positive expression if you say he's very sure of himself. It might be in some situations, you might be using it positively, but most of the time this is really quite negative, to be sure of yourself. So that's why I've put this little negative sign here. So overconfident, you might say. To stop at nothing. If somebody will stop at nothing to achieve a certain goal, that means that they really make an effort. They're so determined to achieve that goal, to reach that goal, that they will stop at nothing. Nothing will make them give up. Nothing will make them stop. So to stop at nothing is something that really determined people do. It's a good word, determined, meaning somebody who doesn't give up. Somebody who is determined is somebody who never gives up. And so if you, I've spelled that wrong. If you stop at nothing to do something, that means you're really trying hard to do it, that nothing will get in your way, that you're focused on that goal and you will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. I think it's similar to two expressions that we've already looked at. We looked at to go out of your way to do something. That means that you really make an effort to do something, and to go to great lengths to do something. That also means you really make an effort to do something. They're not exactly the same as to stop at nothing, but I like to remember vocabulary in big webs. I think that it's best to revise old vocabulary when you look at new expressions. And the only subtle difference is that this means that you're really determined, and this means that you make a great effort. But they are similar. Okay, to walk all over somebody means to treat that person really badly, and usually it means to boss that person around in some kind of way. So there's two good phrasal verbs here. Push somebody around, boss somebody around. That would mean to give them instructions and tell them what to do all the time, and they have to do it. So if somebody walks all over you, then usually they're bossing you around, they're pushing you around, maybe they're bullying you, maybe they're picking on you. So this is an excellent phrasal verb which means bully somebody. So when somebody walks all over you, they bully you, they pick on you, they push you around, they boss you around. That's what they're doing when they walk all over you. Again, it's a very negative expression. Whereas to stop at nothing is usually positive, because you're determined to reach that goal. It might be negative though, but usually it's positive. Okay, to stick up for somebody or stand up for somebody. This means that you support somebody and defend them when somebody else is attacking them. Maybe physically, maybe mentally, maybe in an argument. And if you stand up for them, you support them, you defend them. So it means that somebody is picking on them and you don't think that's right. And so you try to defend them, you try to support them, you stand up for them and say, no, they're not such a bad person. And no, I'm not going to allow you to bully this person, to push them around, to pick on them. So you stand up for them. But you can also stand up for yourself. And that means to defend yourself. If somebody is always getting bullied at school, you might say, stand up for yourself. And it means don't let people push you around. Say no and explain that you're not going to let people push you around anymore. You're going to stand up for yourself. You're going to stick up for yourself. So you can stand up for yourself or you can stand up for others. And please remember as well, while we're doing this phrasal verb, stand up to someone. Because to stand up to somebody is the same but different. Stand up for somebody means defend them. Stand up to somebody means that somebody is attacking you and you stand up to them. You defend yourself by standing up to them. So stand up to somebody is to the person you are against. Stand up for somebody is defend the person you are with. Okay, I hope that's clear. They are different to stand. So we stand up for friends, but we stand up to bullies, enemies, bad people. Stand up for good people, stand up to bad people. That's basically it in a nutshell. Okay, if you don't lift your finger to do something, then you're a very lazy person. So this is really the negative. It means you don't do a stroke of work. If you remember from the previous episode, we had a stroke of work. He doesn't do a stroke of work. He's really lazy. He doesn't lift a finger to help anybody. He's really lazy. So they are the same. They're synonymous. And I think it's a very clear visual metaphorical description. Yeah, he won't even lift his little finger to help somebody. Okay, if you take it for granted that something is true, it just means you assume that it is true. And if you take something for granted, it means you accept that this must be the case. Okay? And this is because of this word, granted. If you take it for granted, you take it as definitely the case, definitely fact. Yeah, what is the case? Now, if you take somebody for granted, it means that you expect them to act in a certain way. And quite often this is negative. If you take your wife for granted, perhaps you just assume that she'll always be really good to you. She'll always tidy up the whole house. She'll always do all the washing up and all the dishes. And then she goes out and earns a wage as well. And you just take it for granted that she'll carry on doing that and that she'll never expect you to help. But in the end, perhaps she walks out on you, she leaves you. And so you were taking her for granted. You were just expecting her to do all of those wonderful things and not thinking that she might want you to do something too, to help too. So that would be to take somebody for granted, to just expect them to carrying on doing what they're doing, but perhaps it's a bad assumption. They may change at some point in the future. Okay, to be made for each other means that two people are incredibly compatible, perfectly compatible. They are made for each other. And so if two people stay in a relationship for a very long time, perhaps they are made for each other. They are really compatible. They find it very easy to stay together. To tie the knot simply means to get married. Okay, it's an idiom meaning to get married, to tie the knot. So I'm going to a wedding this weekend and I will watch some friends tie the knot. It should be very nice and it's in another country, so that should be good fun too. To meet somebody halfway is to compromise. That's all it means, compromise. It means compromise because that's what you do when you compromise. You meet them halfway. You come to an agreement halfway between your positions. So meet somebody halfway, to compromise. And to drive a wedge between two people. This means that something is separating two people, because when you drive a wedge between two things, you're separating them. And so maybe you're having arguments with your partner. Maybe you're arguing about something financial. I think that's a very common argument between partners. And if you say something like money is driving a wedge between them, that means that the theme of money is separating them. It's pushing them apart. And this is what they're very often arguing about. They're arguing about money. But it could be something that completely different, of course. Maybe one of the maybe one of the two people is a vegan and the husband or the wife likes meat. They don't want to become a vegan, and this issue of veganism is driving a wedge between them. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be money. To clear the air after a conflict means to make clear the air. It means to make everybody relax again and forget about the conflict, to calm things down. We also say when everything has blown over, and that means when the conflict has completely calmed down, when the conflict has disappeared and everybody's forgotten about it. So to clear the air, you clear the air when you want to reduce the angry feelings amongst people who are in the middle of a conflict. And sorry, just try and get that light out of the way. And yeah, if you clear the air, it means that everybody calms down because you've tried to, I mean, usually after a conflict, I think people need some time alone, and that will clear the air, because we're usually with time alone, when you get some time to think about it, you realise that you overreacted or something like that. And so that time after the conflict, it helps to clear the air. If you do something in the heat of the moment, it means you do something without thinking. It's a reaction, very often a passionate, emotional reaction. You get carried away in the heat of the moment. I think that particular expression will very often be used within the heat of the moment. Get carried away in the heat of the moment, and you lose control of yourself. Okay? So very common collocation. If two people live in each other's pockets, this sounds quite critical. Doesn't have to be, but it often is. It means they're living really closely to each other. They're so involved in each other's lives that they are living in each other's pockets. And so it's when people are living incredibly closely together. And what I mean is that if perhaps it's normally a phrase used for people who are in love, and if they are living in each other's pockets, that means that they each know absolutely everything about each other's lives, and they're involved in it as well. So it's quite often negative. It means that they've got no time for themselves, no space around themselves, no personal space, and they're just constantly in each other's pockets. So they're constantly watching each other, they're constantly talking to each other, and they don't have so much time for the rest of the world. And so I think of this as quite negative, to live in each other's pockets. It sounds like you don't have your own space and your own free time, some area for yourself. Okay, to go through a sticky patch, or to go through a bad patch, or to go through a difficult period, you could say that as well. Please remember that this phrasal verb, go through, means to experience something difficult. So you can go through a divorce, or you can go through anything difficult. You can go through a loss in the family, meaning that, you know, the family has lost someone, somebody has died. That would be something that you go through. But you can also go through a sticky patch or a bad patch, and that just means a difficult period in your life. Normally this is used for relationships again, and if two people have gone through a sticky patch, it means they've been arguing, they haven't been getting on with each other, so things have been difficult. Now, to hold something back, or to hold somebody back, or to keep somebody back, means to impede their progress, to stop their progress in some kind of way. It could be any kind of way. So you might say his friends are holding him back from his maths studies. You might say something completely different, like his, I'm not sure, his, what do we call it? I don't know, his marks at school are holding him back from his academic progress, something like that. Or anything can hold you back, can impede your progress. But if you hold something back, you can hold emotions back, and it just means restrain those emotions. And same with keep something back. It means restrain in some kind of way. And hold somebody back could mean physically restrain. So my friends held me back, but I tried to hit him, but I couldn't because my friends were holding me back. So there are a few different ways this one can be used, but certainly some kind of medical condition could hold you back. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe you have got a very poor memory, and that's holding you back from making progress. Who knows? Okay, if something piles up, it builds up. Same with build up. It means it increases in number. Rubbish very often piles up on the street. especially if the rubbish men go on strike. Yeah, if the local council men who clean the rubbish away go on strike, the rubbish will start to pile up. But work can pile up. I'm sure you're all very busy people, and I'm sure that work is piling up on your desk as we speak. And so just pile up just means increase. And you could say something like, there has been a build-up of troops on the border. So this build-up can be used as a noun. A build-up of troops on the border, it just means an increasing number of troops on the border. And a pile-up can be a noun as well. But a pile-up is usually on the roads, and it's when there's a big traffic accident and maybe there's a 4-car pile-up, and that just means 4 cars have crashed into each other and piled up. So a pile-up is a crash usually, whereas to pile up, work can pile up, responsibilities can pile up, duties, anything can pile up. Okay, do as you please means do as you wish. Yeah, do whatever you want, do as you wish. We also say please yourself, which means, yeah, do as you want to. Okay, please yourself. Remember that we also say help yourself when you're at the dinner table, and that's polite, it's not rude. We say help yourself meaning please take anything you want. That's basically what it means. But I think I can see how some people might think that that sounds rude. Help yourself, yeah, I'm not going to help you, you help yourself. But that's not the case. It's actually very polite, and we say it all the time. Okay, if something doesn't bear thinking about, it means it's so terrible or so shocking or so awful, it really shouldn't be even thought about. It shouldn't be considered because it's so terrible. If you answer to somebody for something, this is telling everybody who your boss is or who is in charge. You answer to the boss for your duties. So you answer to somebody, they're in a position of authority or power, and you answer to them. If you do a bad job, then they're the ones who are going to tell you off. They're the ones who are going to discipline you or punish you. So you are, as children, we all answer to our parents for our actions, yeah, because they're in charge, they're the boss. Now, if you mess somebody about, that means that, well, I mean, being honest, if a student messes me about, it usually means that they say, I want 6 o'clock on a Monday, and then at the last moment, they say, actually, 6 o'clock doesn't work for me, I want 7 o'clock on a Monday, and I've already got somebody in at 7 o'clock, so it's messing me about. But maybe you do it sometimes with plumbers. Maybe you call out a plumber, and you say, 3 o'clock, please, but then you mess him around and say, sorry, I can't do 3 o'clock tomorrow. How about Thursday at 7 o'clock? That's messing someone around or messing somebody about. If you let somebody down, then you disappoint them in some way. Usually you've promised to do something, maybe meet them at 7 o'clock, and then you let them down. You don't turn up. You disappoint them. If you finish with somebody, it's exactly the same as break up with somebody or split up with somebody. You stop having a relationship with that person. Okay, and lastly, if you say, I'd far sooner, I'd give anything to, I'd give my right arm to, this means you are willing to do anything at all to get something done, you know, I'd far, oh no, not to there, sorry. So I'd far sooner means I'd prefer, really. I'd far sooner do this than do that. I'd prefer to do this than do that. I'd give anything to means, you know, I'm really desperate to do this, so I would give anything to get this done. It means you're desperate to have this done. So you might say, I'd give anything to pass the CAE, maybe. And that means you're willing to do anything to get that degree, to get that exam result, to get that qualification. And I'd give my right arm to get something is even stronger than I'd give anything. I'd give my right arm. This is a very useful arm, but I'd give it if somebody gave me the CAE exam, that kind of thing. Okay, I've got to disappear now. I've got a class coming in about 5 minutes. And so thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe, like, and all the rest of it. Please buy the book if you're interested in the book. It's on my website and it's on Amazon. Very easy to find it. If you can't find it, tell me under the video and I'll help. But thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you all soon.